What is up, awesome peeps? Brent McCluskey here with Electrified Reviews, and today we are reviewing the Rattan XL folding electric bike. This thing is a monster of a folder, super beefy, super strong, but I know a lot of you guys have tuned in to see who the winner of the Rattan Challenger giveaway was, so let's go ahead and hop right to that without any further ado. The winner for the Rattan Challenger electric bike giveaway is Yanjing Brodsky, and the action that Yanjing won for was for visiting our page, electrifiedreviews.com. So congratulations, Yanjing. I hope you are going to enjoy your new Christmas present, your Rattan Challenger electric bike. Huge congratulations there. If you did not win, no worries. We will have more giveaways coming up very soon, so stick around for that. But before we do anything else, let's roll the B-roll. All right, awesome peeps. So again, this is the Rattan XL folding electric bike. This thing is just a super, super chunky folding electric bike. I mean, this thing it's the XL. It's the extra large version of a folder, and man, it's just a really beefy frame. This thing is really geared towards riders who are going to be heavier, riders who plan on carrying a lot of weight with them. It does have rear rack bosses, so you could probably throw a rear rack on there if you wanted to and add a lot of weight. It's also going to be geared towards riders who are taller, you know, probably 6 feet and above, because this is a big frame. This is quite a bit bigger than every folder we have reviewed. So that's what this thing is really geared towards, and it does have some very interesting battery technology that is supposed to seriously increase the range. Really interesting stuff. We've tested it before. It does seem to work, at least, you know, some, so we'll go over that. But to start, this bike right here, the Rattan XL, the starting price is beautiful. Right now, the starting price is $999 for this bike. That's the Indiegogo campaign. Rattan is running a Indiegogo for this bike right here, the XL. They've got a couple other ones that are already in production. This is one of their new ones. So $999. Pretty good price for this bike, especially for the components that it has, which we'll go over, of course. However, that price, that $999, that is the Indiegogo price. So that price is gonna go up quite a bit when this thing does hit market. Right now, they have their retail price at $24.99, $2,499 USD. Who knows if that's really what it'll be? They might adjust it once it does come to market. But the point is, you know, if this is something that you're interested in, obviously, the Indiegogo price is what you're going to be wanting to go for here. That's a huge savings. $999 is a really good deal for this bike right now. So another interesting thing about this company is they do offer a 2-year warranty on their electric bikes, which is really nice. That's a good warranty. Very good feeling of security when you are ordering something online, especially like an Indiegogo bike. You want to make sure that it's going to last. You want to make sure that you have support from the company. So I do like to see that. Very cool. So let's dive into the specs here on the Rattan XL, and of course we will start back at the motor on this bike. This is going to be a Reebok 750 watt nominal power motor here, about 65 newton meters of torque. This is the only time we've seen Reebok motors is on the Rattan bikes. We've never tested them before besides here, and they seem to do a pretty good job. They seem to be kind of similar to Bafang. But the interesting part about these motors and the battery system here is they've got this thing called iPass technology. And that iPass technology is supposed to work in conjunction with the battery and the motor to be like something like 83% more efficient somehow, and that's supposed to get you like 50% more range. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Now so with that motor here, 750 watts, that brings this bike up to a top speed of 28 miles per hour. which is pretty peppy. This is a very zippy bike, and even though it does have those big fat tires, which normally does kind of increase rolling resistance and makes it feel a little bit sluggish, with this motor, it does help overcome that, and it still feels like a very powerful bike. We were able to hit that top speed of 28 miles per hour with just the throttle, no pedaling on flat ground, pretty easily. I weigh about 180 pounds. The bag here that I carry has about 30 pounds of gear in it, so 210 pounds total. And that's kind of, I think, one of the best selling points of this bike is it's, yeah, I mean, you can be a heavier rider like me, or even heavier than that, or taller than that, and this bike can still get you up to that top speed. It's powerful enough. It's a capable bike. So the battery here, 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour system. It's going to be inside the main tube here. This battery does lock inside the frame, so even if somebody opens up the frame, they cannot remove the battery unless they have the keys with them. That's very nice. It does mean that you can actually charge the battery separately from the bike. Really good stuff here. You want to see that for sure. Now the range here for this battery, 14.5 amp hours, which is a little bit higher than average, so granted that, but the range that Rattan claims is 100 miles, which is huge. That's, and they're saying it's like 100 miles with at 28 miles per hour at top speed. So those are some pretty serious claims for range. And the reason they're making those claims is because of that iPass technology. So one of the things this technology is supposed to do is it's supposed to passively collect the kinetic energy from the motor whenever this bike is either going 14 miles an hour or faster, or if it's just riding, if it's like coasting down a hill, it'll start collecting that energy and feeding it back into the battery. So yeah, I guess the regeneration that this bike has is supposed to be, way more efficient than the standard brake regeneration or motor regeneration from electric bikes. Now, we weren't able to put that to the test on this bike, but we have tested the iPass technology on other Rattan bikes, and it does seem to work. We extrapolated, we rode like 15 miles, something like that on one of the other bikes. We extrapolated that to kind of see what the max range would be. It wasn't quite what they estimated on the website. It almost never is for range, but the point is that whatever these guys are doing, it is getting them more range out of the battery. So kudos to them. Will it go 100 miles on a charge? I mean, that's a pretty boastful claim. Maybe, but probably not at 28 miles per hour. You probably would have to be in a lower pedal assist mode and actually contribute to that ride by pedaling. So yeah. Now, speaking of pedaling here, this thing does have a cadence sensor. You can see it right over here on this side. So yeah, the pedal assist sensor, it's gonna be a cadence sensor. Now, like all cadence sensors, this has a kind of a start and stop delay, like a lag from the time I start and stop pedaling to the time that this motor here actually activates, starts kicking out power, and deactivates and shuts off and stops delivering power. That's indicative of almost every cadence sensor we've ever tested. Not a big deal, that's just how they work, which is why we typically prefer torque sensors. They're more responsive, they're just nicer to ride. It makes it feel like the bike is working with you as opposed to for you. Not a big deal. Most bikes at this price point, and even around the $2,000 price point, they stick with cadence sensors, so no biggie on that. Now for the derailleur in the back, we've got a Shimano Altus derailleur. 8 speeds here for the rear cassette. This is kind of cool to see. This is a little bit of an upgrade point here. Typically Shimano tourney is what we see on electric bikes around this price point. Also, you'll see Rattan put a steel cage here to protect the derailleur. Very, very nice. This is actually a really important little piece right here. It's just a small piece, but it really helps to keep this thing protected if this bike tips over on the right side, so it doesn't crush that derailleur and knock it out of place. So that's good. Also, that derailleur is paired with a trigger shifter, which is nice. So 8 speeds, like we talked about, and it's an actual trigger shifter here on the handlebars, not that Shimano SIS index thumb shifter. So again, another upgrade point. Definitely want to see that. The handlebars here, real quick, since we're up here, I do want to show you that these are double locking handlebars, or sorry, the grips rather. The grips here, come on, there we go. The grips lock, one here, one here. It just helps to keep these from spinning when you put pressure on them. So that's good. I'm gonna fold this in a second. Let's go over here to the brakes real quick on this bike. The brakes are another kind of cool point here for the Rattan XL. These are gonna be hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter rotors in the front and the rear here. There's the front one right there. These are Logan disc brakes, that's the brand. I'm not super familiar with these. This is the only time that we've seen them here is on the Rattan bikes, but they offer plenty of stopping power. This is good. You want to see You definitely want hydraulic brakes on this bike because it's so powerful and because it goes so fast. And 28 miles per hour is quite a bit faster than an analog bike, typically speaking. So yeah, that extra stopping power, you definitely want that. Now, because these are hydraulic disc brakes, it does also mean that the actual brake levers can be adjusted, the right resting position. So if you have smaller hands or bigger hands, because again, remember this is kind of built, I think, for bigger riders. If you have bigger hands, you can just let this out and it kind of helps to adjust for your personal grip. Also, these brake levers have motor inhibitors built in. So whenever I depress either of the brake levers here on this bike, it's going to instantly cut power to the motor, which is going to ensure that I have the shortest possible stopping distance. So we talked again about 28 miles per hour. That's really fast, and you want those motor inhibitors because if you are doing an emergency stop, you want to make sure that that motor, that very powerful 750 watt motor, is not active when you're braking. You don't want to be fighting against gravity and the motor, you know what I'm saying? So that's a very good safety feature there. Now you'll notice that on this frame, there's no suspension. Solid front forks, no rear suspension. It does have fat tires, which, the increased air volume of these fat tires here, it does add a little bit of suspension quality to the bike. It kind of helps soften the ride a little bit, especially if you air them down. It's especially useful if you're going over soggy terrain, but it's still kind of a stiff ride because there's no suspension, so just something to keep in mind here. But the overall weight of this bike is actually only about 60 pounds, which is surprisingly light given how big it is and how beefy this frame is. I mean, check out this frame, man. This thing is it's huge. It's super wide, it's super beefy. The gussets and the weld points are actually pretty well done. It's welded there. You can see even this huge gusset here at the bottom connects the seat post here to the frame. Just really good stuff, and this is what I'm talking about, where this is really geared towards heavier riders. And if you're a heavier rider and you have a folder, folders are not as strong. The frames aren't as strong as a traditional frame. So if you are a heavier rider, you want something like this that has that extra strength, just so it doesn't collapse on you while you're riding, so it doesn't bend, fold, misform if you go over a big bump, something like that, So I am gonna go ahead and fold this real quick for you guys. Check this out. So, to fold this bike, it does have a dual stage locking mechanism right here, so which is very nice. So there's this stage right here is a little safety. You have to pull this up, pull this out. Now the frame is loose and it can be folded. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this kickstand up, just pull it in half just like this. And you'll see that it can actually rest. Can it? Yeah. It can rest right here on this little stand, this metal stand that's included with the bike. Very good little piece right there. Again, just one of those small pieces. It doesn't cost a lot, but it really helps with it makes it nice and easy. Like I don't have to attend to this bike while it is in the folded position. I can also fold down the handlebars if I want to. Dual stage as well, little safety latch, fold it down. And now this thing is ready to throw in my RV, throw it in the back of my truck. Honestly, you can throw it in my trunk of your car, whatever you want. So that's how that works. Pretty easy stuff here. Boom. To unfold it, same thing, just in reverse. Go like that. There you go. It's pretty much that easy, not a big deal at all to get this thing folded and unfolded. So would that take all in all, like, I don't know, 20 seconds, something like that? Now this bike does have integrated headlight here in the front. Boom, just a little headlight right there. Not super bright. This is really more for just increasing visibility, like so people can see you at night while you're riding. It's not gonna really help illuminate your path that much. Now something I do wanna, although this is a great bike, I pretty much love everything about it. One thing I do wanna gripe about here is the the wire management. Now they do a pretty good job of keeping the wires relatively clean and kind of bundled up nicely together. However, most of the wiring here, as you'll see, is external. It's on the outside of the frame. So this just feels like it's going to get snagged, and it feels like it's gonna get snagged on something and it's gonna come loose, or it's gonna get pulled out on one of the, and it's just, I don't know. I would wanna see this kind of closer to the frame here, maybe bolted somehow, or maybe even made so it can be internal. And if not, that's just something to watch out for, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to get that snagged while you're riding. That would just be not a good thing at all. I forgot to mention this on the other side here. There is a aluminum bash guard on this side to kind of protect the chain ring, very nice. So if you do get a strike on your chain ring here, it's gonna hit the guard instead of the teeth. It's gonna help protect the teeth, help it from getting deformed. This also helps keep the chain from derailing towards the outside. So that's a nice little piece of gear as well. Man, this is a fun bike, guys. This is a cool bike. I'm really digging these fat tire bikes. I feel like a lot of the bikes we've been testing lately are the fat tires, and like we've talked about before, there's a reason for that. The fat tires are really functional. Not only do they have that increased air volume, but they've got an extra wide tire patch here, these 4-inch wide tires, and it's really good for, like right now here in California, it's been raining for like the last 2 weeks and all the ground is really soggy. With this bike, I mean, any fat tire bike, it floats over this kind of ground, doesn't really sink in, doesn't tear up the grass. On a regular bike, the skinny tires, 2-inch, 2.1, whatever, it does kind of sink in, it does create, does kind of hurt the grass a little bit. So yeah, the fat tires, man, they're really practical. Now let's go ahead and show you guys the display really quick. So we've got a independent button pad right here on the left, plus, minus, lights, info button, and the power button, and then the throttle is on the left-hand side right here. To turn it on, it's gonna be a long press of the power button. You'll see the display comes to life, branded here with the Rattan logo. And one of my favorite things about this display, probably my very favorite thing, is on the top, you'll notice it does have a percentage indicator. Beautiful, yes, I love that Rattan has percentage indicators on their display because I can look at this and see exactly how much juice is left in the battery. So I like that compared to like a 4-bar or a 5-bar battery indicator. Here in the middle, we've got the current speed in miles per hour or kilometers. You can switch that. This little bar right here, it kind of like ticks up like a speedometer on a car. I think you can change that to like the power that you have or the speed. So that's kind of cool. Down here, bottom left, tripometer, current pedal assist level, and odometer. If I hit the info button, it'll change to max speed, average speed, time, and back to odometer. And then you can go down to pedal assist level 0, 1, 2, 3. I think, it does, okay, maxes out at 3. So 3 levels of pedal assist on this. Also, one more thing I do want to actually mention about this handlebar here, the stem, is this is a telescoping stem. So I can actually unlatch this here and I can raise and lower the handlebars, which is also going to help accommodate riders of different sizes. So one frame size, but that one thing, that telescoping stem, it really helps to adjust your reach. So if I have like a rider with a reach of, let's just say like a 5'10" rider versus a 6'2" rider, they're gonna have different reaches, right? And you can raise and lower that handlebar to kind of help adjust that and kind of help make the bike fit better for you. So very cool stuff. I'll tell you right now, this is definitely a big bike. I think this is really geared toward people that are like probably 6 feet and above. Even for me, I'm not very tall, I'm only 5'10", but I do have a long reach. Even for me, this bike feels a little bit big, and it's a folder, which is nuts because, I mean, folders never feel big. So yeah. All right, well look, awesome peeps. I think we have covered this bike. This is a fun ride, guys, and the coolest thing about this, in my opinion, is probably gonna be that iPass tech to help really extend the range, because that means that you can take this on like a weekend trip, like we're talking about. If you're an RVer, you don't have to bring a battery charge. You can ride, pretty much all weekend as long as you're not going like super crazy far. And yeah, you can ride on one charge. So it's just really, really cool. But I think the next thing we have to do is take this for a test ride and show it to you in action. So here we go. All right, awesome peeps. That is pretty much it for the review of the Rattan XL folding electric bike. In summary, this thing does start for $999 right now, which, ooh, that is a sweet, sweet deal. That is the Indiegogo campaign price though. So when that campaign does end, the price is going to jump pretty high to $24.99, which is kind of a little bit more of what you would expect for a bike like this. For common retail value. So yeah, if this is something that you're interested in, right now the Indiegogo price of $999 is actually a pretty good deal. This is going to really be a good bike, a good choice for those of you who are looking for a folder, but who you yourself as the rider have a larger frame, maybe you're taller, maybe you weigh a little bit more. This bike, this folder in particular, is going to work very well for you because this is a bigger folder. This is the extra large, the XL version of Rattan's folders here. It's very durable. It's got those huge gussets in the frame like we talked about, just the huge weld points, the fat tires, the heavy load capacity. This is going to be a bike that's really geared towards that heavier rider and that taller rider who needs kind of just more room on the bike. Also, the fat tires do make this an excellent choice for wanting to go over soggy terrain, snow, sand, wet grass, mud, stuff like that. And of course it does fold, so for those of you who are RVing, who are backpacking and or camping, and you want a bike that you can fold up, throw in your car, throw in your camper, this is also going to be a good choice for that as well. So awesome peeps, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Rattan XL. I hope you're having a fantastic holiday season. Happy almost Christmas Eve, and Merry almost Christmas, and Happy almost New Year. So look, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you're having an awesome day, and I will catch you next time. Peace.